Good day, Junior Tickies. I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We're going to look now at Chapter 3, Creditors, Activity 4. The following information was extracted from the accounting records of Blue Shine Pools. Required: record the following transactions which occurred during March 2024 in the correct journal of Blue Shine Pools. Post to the creditors ledger and compile the creditors list. Post the close-off journals to the general ledger and balance the accounts where necessary. And question number 4, analyze the transaction date 1, 4, 7 and 31 March according to the element on the accounting equation. So information A, they provided you with all the balances and totals which appeared on the 1st of March 2024. And then very important, they provided you with the creditors list. This is a list of the outstanding balances owed to each one of our creditors on the 1st of March 2024. Information B, transactions for March 2024. So once you've now sorted out all the transactions, which goes into which journals, then we're going to post it to that specific journal. I'm going to approach this a little bit differently by first starting with the creditors journal. I've sorted out the transactions which will go into the cash payment journal and which will go into the creditors journal. So if we look at the first transaction on day 4, it says purchase stationery 820 on credit from Iris Wholesalers, invoice number 201, renumbered 41. So the key words here is purchase on credit. Secondly, an invoice. That's the source document, the evidence that the transaction took place. And they specifically said renumbered. Why do we renumber? Because we buy at different times from different suppliers, the source document numbers will not be in numeric order. So we will renumber it so in our books it reflects in numeric order. And then we know invoice number 41 refers to invoice number 201, which we've purchased on credit from Iris Wholesalers. So we start with the source document, number 41. On day 4, from who did we purchase? Iris Wholesalers. For how much? 820 because of stationery which was purchased. Remember the double entry principle? For every debit, there's a credit. There's 2 entries. Our debt will increase. Why? Because we purchase stationery. On day 11, received an invoice from Lely Traders for the following: merchandise 8,200 less 5% trade discount. Packing material 650. So this means now we purchase from the same supplier 2 different items. Merchandise is always shown as trading stock. It says less 5% trade discount. So we need to know what are we going to pay for this after the 5% trade discount. That's why we need to take 8,200 and we times it by 95%. Alternatively, if you say 8,200 times 5% and then you subtract that from the 8,200, you will get exactly the same answer. And now, please have a look at my approach. The source document is number 42. On day 11, we purchased from Lely Traders. What did we purchase? Trading stock, and we've just calculated the figure after the 5% trade discount, and packing material 650. In total, we owe 8,440. On day 18, bought office chairs 3,900 and stationery 320 on credit from ARB Traders and received their invoice. 5% trade discount is received on all items. So unlike transaction number 11, where we've only received discount on the merchandise, now we've received discount on all the items purchased. This means I'm going to start with the easy part. The source document is now number 43. This happened on day 18. We purchased from ARB Traders. Now, what did we purchase? So the first thing is bought office chairs. Office chairs is going to be shown as equipment. So we have to take 3,900 and we times it by 95% because all the items we've received 5% discount. And then we're going to take 320 and times it by 95%. This means I'm going to start with the first entry, equipment, after the discount, and then stationery after the discount. Then I'm going to add it together, and that is the amount which we owe our supplier. On day 25, purchase the following items for 11,990 on credit from Iris Wholesalers. So again, we've purchased a number of items from the same supplier. One invoice would have been received. So the first thing is the source document number is now number 44. Make sure you don't write it in the same line as where the stationery was written from the previous transaction. Then, what did we purchase? We purchased goods, which is shown as trading stock, packing material, 1,300, and then equipment for the owner's own personal use. But now you don't see that there's a figure given there. What have they provided you with? They said in total 11,990 was purchased for on credit. That consisted out of trading stock, out of packing material, and then that difference, 11,990 minus equals. It's not going to be shown as equipment. This will be shown as drawings because equipment, what was purchased, was for own personal use, and anything that is taken for personal use must be recorded as drawings. On day 30, bought goods from ARB Traders, 12,580. Received invoice number B300. So I don't care about the invoice number B300 when I'm showing it in my creditors journal because we've renumbered it and the next number is number 45. From who did we purchase? ARB Traders. How much? 12,580, and goods is shown as trading stock. When you are done taking all the transaction that's applicable to the creditors journal, you can draw a line and then we need to total each one of these money columns. A reminder, from the creditors journal, creditors control will always be credited and the rest will be debited. So if I take and I add everything up, trading stock, packing material, everything in sundry accounts, if I take the total, 7,089 plus 1,950 plus 28,800, it should equal exactly the same, 37,839. Completing now the cash payment journal. So transaction number 1, it says, issued EFT 36 to ARB Traders for 16,100 in part payment of account. Part payment of account means we didn't pay it in full, only some of it. So we start with the document EFT 36. Who did we pay? ARB Traders, 16,100. And this is a creditor to us. That's why it goes under creditors control. On day 7, drew cash from the ATM to pay the weekly wages, 1,500, and 1,000 for the owner for personal use. Another transaction on the same day paid Irish wholesalers half the amount outstanding on the 1st of March 2024, sent Irish wholesalers the proof of payment. So there are different transactions that happened on the same day. So this must be shown separately. The first part, drew cash from the ATM, means that it's ATM slip. On day 7, cash, for what reason, wages, and then personal use is drawings. In total, 2,500 was drawn from the bank account. Then paid half the amount outstanding on the 1st of March. Now you need to go to the creditors list. These balances were on the 1st of March 2024. And it says there, we owed 18,290. We paid half of that amount which was outstanding. That's why we're going to use the source document, bank statement. It was proof of payment, bank statement. Divide that 18,290 by 2. This is a creditor to us. That's why it goes under creditors control. Day 14. Drew cash from the ATM to pay the weekly wages, 1,500. Purchase goods for 1,450 from Hulk Traders and paid by EFT. So again, 2 transactions on the same day. First of all, money was drawn from the ATM, cash for the weekly wages. The second part of this transaction, paid by EFT, means that my source document is EFT, now it's number 37. From who did we purchase? Hulk Traders. For how much? 1,450. And goods are shown as trading stock. On day 16, issued EFT to Lely Traders for 10,100 in part payment of account. So again, we haven't paid it in full, only some of it. We start with the source document EFT 38 on day 16. Who did we pay? Lely Traders. How much did we pay? 10,100. This is a creditor to us, and that's why it's shown under creditors control. Day 21. Drew cash from the ATM to pay the weekly wages. The employees received a 6% increase. So this means now that we need to go back, wages are being paid weekly. And on the 14th, wages was paid 1,500. So if they've received now a 6% increase, we are going to take 1,500 times 106 divided by 100. So my new weekly wages is going to be 1,590. On day 27, drew cash from the ATM to pay the weekly wages. Received a cash invoice from QR stores for merchandise, 2,700, stationery, 740, and a new cash register, 1,600. Paid the amount due by EFT. So 2 different transactions on the same day, and then from QR stores, we've purchased different items. So the first part of this is we paid our weekly wages. Remember now, there was a 6% increase, so now our new weekly wages is 1,590. Now, to approach the second part of this, don't get confused because you just see the word invoice. Receive the cash invoice for goods purchased, stationery, and the cash register. Here they said you paid the amount due by EFT. Then you should know, but this will go into the cash payment journal because a payment was made. We start with EFT number 39. We purchase from QR stores. Merchandise is shown as trading stock. Stationery, 740. There's no money column open for stationery. And then a new cash register. We're not going to write the word cash register. That will be shown as equipment. This will form part of my equipment. So in total, we owe 5,040. Not owed, we've paid 5,040 for the purchase of trading stock, stationery, and equipment from QR stores. When we are done with taking all the transactions to the cash payment journal, we can draw a line and we can total each column. Now that we've completed the cash payment journal and the creditors journal, we can move on to completing the creditors ledger. Now, just a reminder, while we're doing the transactions, it should happen on a daily basis. If you see the creditor, Iris or Lily or ARB traders, then you have to take it on that same day. You have to take it to their individual account. I'm approaching it a little bit different now, just to make it a bit easier with the explanation. We've now completed the cash payment journal and the creditors journal. And we're going to start with the balances brought down on the first day of the month. So this is from the creditors list, which was given to us on the 1st of March 2024. And that is our step number 1. Write on the first day of the month, account rendered, and each one of the balances which is owed. Now we can go to the first creditor, which is the Iris wholesalers. Now you just need to be careful. You cannot just start with the CPJ and then move on to the creditors journal. This must be in date order. Hence, that's why I've said, while you're doing the transaction, you must take it to the creditors ledger at the same time. It's an individual record of each one of my creditors. So the first transaction happened on day 4 from the creditors journal. It means that goods or items were purchased on credit. I don't care what it we purchased. That's why I've got the creditors journal. I care about how much is owed to the supplier, and then we calculate the new balance. The next transaction happened on day 7. A payment was made, the source document bank statement. We're going to put it on the debit side because from the CPJ, it means that we owe our supplier less money. And that's why you would notice that the balance is now less. Take the previous balance calculated at the end of day 4 minus the 9,145. Then on day 25, from the creditors journal, it means that goods were purchased or items were purchased on credit. Invoice number 44 from the creditors journal, account credited 11,990, so my new balance 21,955. Now we've indicated all the transactions which was posted to the individual's account. Now we can go to Lily Traders. The first transaction happened on day 11. Items were purchased, invoice number 42 from the creditors journal, amount 8,440. In total, my new balance is 33,816. Now, the next transaction happened on day 16. It says EFT number 38 from the CPJ. The account will be debited 10,100. My new balance 23,716. Then we've got our last creditor, ARB Traders. We start we started with the opening balance account rendered. Then on the same day, on day 1, EFT number 36, half the amount, or no, sorry, not half the amount, 16,100 was paid. It means that we owe now 21,115. Then on day 18, invoice number 43 from the creditors journal, the amount 4,009. My new balance is now 25,159. Then on day 30, invoice number 45 from the creditors journal, the amount that we've purchased for on credit 12,580. My new balance 37,739. Now you can see that everything has been posted to the individual's account. Our next step is to complete the creditors list. This is now the outstanding balances at the end of each month. What is the new balances? And then we just total it. After we've done with this, we can now complete the general ledger. So completing the general ledger, again we start with step number 1, the opening balances. And then we post from the journals to the general ledger. The first step, to make it a bit easier for you, classify each one of these accounts and know where does it increase and where does it decrease. And then I always say, where do you see the plus? Except now for drawings. Where do you see the plus? That's where the balance brought down will appear. Drawing starts with D for debit. That's another way of remembering it. So it will appear on the debit side. So on the 1st of March 2024, we're going to write the balance brought down for each one of these accounts, drawings, equipment, and trading stock. Now we can post from the journals. You need to make sure that it is in date order. When posting from money columns, it is at the end of the month. When posting from sundry accounts, it's on the day the transaction took place. So if the first one that we look at is drawings, you would notice on day 7 and day 25. Day 7 needs to be taken to the general ledger first because this must be in date order. So then we're simply going to say on day 7, from the CPJ, my details is bank and the amount was 1,000. Indicate that you've taken it to account number B2. From the creditors journal, on the 25th, the amount 2,260, details creditors control and indicate that you've posted it to account number B2. Equipment is regarded as a current asset. Now I'm going to highlight every time where I see equipment and I'm going to make sure that it's in date order. So you can't start with the CPJ because it's on the 27th. You first have to post from the creditors journal on day 18. My details is creditors control and the total is 3,705. Then on day 27 from the CPJ, my details is bank, the amount 1,600. Trading stock, posting trading stock from the CPJ. There's a money column for trading stock, so it will happen at the end of the month. From the creditors journal, there's a money column for trading stock, which means at the end of the month. So it doesn't matter which one you post first, because both of them will be on the last day of the month. From the CPJ, your details is bank. From the creditors journal, your details is going to be creditors control. Indicate that you've taken it to account number B4 in the general ledger. When you are done posting from the journals, at the end of the month, we need to balance and close this off. So there's nothing on the credit side, so we are just going to total it. Moving now on to the next ones. So we've got bank, creditors control, and then we're going to go to nominal account section, wages and packing material. So bank, take note. We start with the balance brought down. It's set debit. It means it's regarded as a current asset. So the balance brought down will appear on the debit side. Creditors control is a liability on the credit side. Wages is an expense, so the total brought forward is on the debit side. Packing material is an expense, so the total brought forward is on the debit side. Posting now from the CPJ and the creditors journal. If you look at bank, they've provided you from the cash receipts journal, the total receipt was 77,460. Posting from the cash payment journal, we have to take the total of bank to the general ledger. Bank will therefore be credited, my details, total payments, and amount 48,995. Indicate that you've taken this to account number B5. The next one is creditors control. So creditors control appears in both the CPJ and the creditors journal. So a reminder, when we buy on credit, our debt will increase. When we make a payment, our debt will decrease. So from the creditors control, from the creditors journal, creditors control will be credited and my details sundry accounts, and we post the total 37,839. Then from the cash payment journal, my creditors control is going to be debited. Now my contra account is bank. Remember, from the CPJ, bank is credited, the rest is debited. So we're going to indicate that the payment was made from our bank to our creditors, and that was the total in total. Indicate that you've taken this to account number B6 in the general ledger. Now we can go on to the next money column, wages. Wages appears in the cash payment journal. So our expense is going to increase on the debit side. From the CPJ, your details is bank and the total 6,118. Indicate that you've posted it to account number N3 in the nominal account section. Next, we have packing material. So we're posting the money column, packing material. This only appears in the creditors journal. It's an expense to the business. When we're posting from a money column, it happens on the last day of the month. From the creditors journal, our details is creditors control and the amount 1,950. So what is left over is my stationery, which we're going to look at next in the next one. So now, once we have posted everything, bank, creditors control, wages and packing material, we can balance the account. Starting with bank, we can close this off. The debit side must be equal to the credit side. The difference is my balance carried down, means April 2024 balance brought down. Creditors control. Now we're going to first start adding the credit side. The credit side you can see is much more than the debit side. So total the credit side, it must be equal to the debit side. The difference is my balance carried down, means balance brought down. Please take note. I'm not going to write April the 1st next to balance carried down. This happens on the last day of the month. So we don't need to write March 31 again. When we write down our balance brought down for the next month, that is when we're going to say April the 1st. Wages, there's nothing on the credit side. Packing material, there's nothing on the credit side, so we're just going to total it. Now the last one that we need to look at is our stationery. You would notice we've posted everything else. That's why we indicate when we've taken it to the ledger account, when we've taken it to the individual's account. So now the only thing left over is stationery, and this is an expense to the business, which means that the total brought forward will be on the first day of the month on the debit side. Posting now, you need to be careful. You cannot just start with the CPJ and then go to the creditors journal, because posting from sundry accounts, it must be on the day when the transaction took place. So the first transaction took place on day 4, and this is from the creditors journal. Our details is creditors control 820. Indicate that you've posted this to account number N5. Then on day 18, again from the creditors journal, creditors control the amount 304. Then on day 27, from the CPJ, our details is bank, and the total was 714. Now we've taken everything to the general ledger. The last step is to total the debit side. There's nothing on the credit side, so we just total it. Completing now the accounting equation. So on day 1, we said issued an EFT to ARB traders for 16,100 in part payment of account. When a payment is made, bank will be credited. Creditors control will be debited. Bank had a debit balance, so it's regarded as an asset. Creditors control is a liability, which is plus. That's why assets minus, because money went out of our bank account, our assets is going to decrease on the credit side. My liabilities, because a payment was made, our liabilities is going to decrease on the debit side. So this is just a tool which you can use to help you if you're not sure. Should I plus or should I minus? On day 4, purchase stationery 820 on credit, invoice number 201. From the creditors journal, creditors control is always credited. Our liabilities is going to increase. Account debited, stationery, because stationery is an expense which will be debited, which will increase our expenses. This will have a negative effect on the owner's equity. Nothing happened with your assets. On day 7, drew cash from the ATM to pay the weekly wages, 1,500 and 1,000 for the owner's personal use. So the first part of this transactions, and now you need to write it separately. We're going to indicate bank is credited, wages debited. Bank is an asset which will decrease, and wages is an expense which will have a negative effect on my owner's equity. Then I need to indicate for personal use, bank is still going to be credited. Money was taken from our bank account debited, drawings, minus 1,000. Then paid Iris wholesalers half the amount outstanding. This means that we took the balance from the creditors list and we divided it by 2. If a payment is made, bank is credited, the rest is debited. Creditors control will be debited. Minus 9,145, because my bank is an asset which will decrease on the credit side. Liabilities will decrease on the debit side. On day 30, bought goods from ARB traders 12,580 on credit, means that creditors control is credited. What did we purchase? Trading stock, which is debited, assets plus, and liabilities plus. So again, you can use this as a tool if you are not 100% sure. Thank you very much. I want to leave you with this quote. Education is learning what you didn't even know you didn't know. Have a wonderful day.